Time to get geeked up.
As you guys know, Liam and I are in the heart of all this situation. Him actually being in Manhattan himself, and me being in the Westchester area. So I guess I'll kick it to Liam real fast and just kind of, do you want to talk a little bit about like what's it like being in the big city, pretty much the epidemic heart of this?
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky enough to have been able to quarantine myself in the casting studio right here, in the pod. I'm hunkered down. But yeah, no, now it's getting pretty scary out there. You all have to wear, like in lieu of an official mask, I've got my Vader helmet, is as close as I can get. But, it's definitely people are suited up out there, and it's definitely feeling like a real worldwide pandemic is going on, I guess, right outside our front doors. But I guess really the same everywhere. That's kind of like the one prevailing thing in this is that everybody in the world is dealing with it, I assume just as significantly as here, so.
Yeah, it's a big thing here for sure. I mean, like you said, you do see it kind of all over the world. Everything's changing right now. Even if it's a small town or a big city like ours, even where I live up in the Westchester area, a little more of the suburban area, it's still very, very different. Like, the only place
especially Westchester up there where you're at. That was one of the first real patches that got it, and then, that's kind of so close to New York and such a, commuter village that it was obvious once, but like a week before, I think, or at least a solid 3 or 4 days before Manhattan was on lockdown, like your whole neighborhood was in that weird quarantine, a mile-long radius. Yeah,
there was a whole area in New Rochelle up here that was really...
Corona-Ville.
Kind of... yeah, I guess Corona-Ville is what they were calling it. I guess it's a better nickname, though, than the Chinese virus.
It's basically the Wuhan market up there in fucking Westchester, but...
I'll tell you this much, though, man. I was decided to brave it the other day, and I was going to order some Chinese food, and literally all the Chinese places I order from up here are closed.
Oh, coincidence?
Yeah, can't order Chinese food up here. They're all like closed down. I think they're probably
either that or they're fucking running from the natives up there, a little holding a grudge, or the folks of Westchester against the local Sunny Walk in the community, or Corona-Ville, whatever it's been fucking called up there. But it's definitely been a crazy time for the whole world, like you said. In New York, it was such like a landslide of crazy information that really has happened so quick, which is another like really weird part about this. But it just seems like a time warp where everything is a haze, where it's like it's really only been like 2 weeks that New York has officially been in lockdown, really like 3 weeks that it's been like a mass hysteria. But literally like a month ago, I was at like a fucking sold out MSG, at a concert at Madison Square Garden. That was literally like less than 30 days ago. And then it's, so much has happened since then that it just feels like it was such a long time, but...
Those two, and kind of like one of those things that we're very like social, like one of our gigs is being in bars and whatnot, and just like not having that social aspect of just being around people anymore. And even, like, watching things on, like, TV, like old TV shows, and, like, seeing people in big groups, it's kind of just like, ooh, be careful. Like, It's the new normal, man. Like, really, like, even when things get back to normal, it's still going to be, like, a very weird, like...
No, for sure.
Away from me, man.
We're not going to go, like, from 0 to 60 fucking right overnight. It's going to take a long time for, it's going to be an adjustment process back into normal society anyway, for sure. But
let's be honest, you've kind of been training for this your whole life, though, right?
I really feel like me and Howie Mandel finally get to stick it to the rest of you bastards. That where literally, dude, the amount of half-filled Purell bottles I had around my apartment, because every time I fucking like go to eat a slice, if I don't have one already on me, I buy a new one. I literally have enough Purell bottles in my fucking house to like last me a 6 month. A 6-month quarantine. Not that I haven't ordered a bunch more on the internet. Not that I'm not hoarding Purell anyway, but but I was literally hoarding this shit before that was even a thing.
Yeah, you could start really a side hustle right now with all the Purell and hand sanitizer you got.
That's a great call, dude. I've got a lot of empty bottles that I can fill up with water and then just maybe a little squirt on the top half and pull that move where do what the drug dealers do, you know?
Yeah.
It's a good geeked up side hustle there for us. I mean, we have to figure something out, though, because I do want to get back into something a little bit here that we were just getting into, where Devin's, of course, proximity to the whole situation up in Westchester. I guess that does bring us to, am I allowed to ask questions of the Corona Kid how you're feeling over there anymore? Or?
Yes, we could touch on that. That I may have been patient zero.
Yeah. Devin really got this whole Corona thing kicked off. Fucking no joke.
So honestly, I was just kind of give you a little talk about it. Right when this thing really first started happening and you were like, kind of hearing about it, you know, nothing was shut down yet. But
I'm still saying, like,
people here were...
Probably still in February, though, right? Or, like, maybe because the first, like, the stock market crash, just for frame of reference time, was March 9th, Monday, March 9th. I think Sunday, there was, like, the Daily News front page was Corona, New York City, and there was, like, a couple confirmed cases on that Sunday, the 8th. The 9th is kind of really when it, like, all went crazy. But you're talking, like, at least the 1st, right? If not February.
Yeah, no, it was definitely in February.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things, like you said, where we knew it was going to come here. There was no doubt about it. And then the first couple cases started popping up. And I happened to wake up one morning, went to bed one night feeling fine, woke up one morning and literally had all the symptoms. I had a skyrocketed fever. I was short of breath. My body was aching, and
yeah, like you told me that you felt like you ran a marathon. Woke up with the chills like you just ran a marathon, was what you said.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I said. I jumped out of bed, and I was like, why is my whole body so sore like I ran a marathon? I took my temperature, and it was like 101. I'm like, that's right. So, I mean, I guess this is a good reference, too, of how early it actually was, is I went to the doctor, and he was like, I was naming off all my symptoms. Of course, like any modern person, I went online to check my symptoms with the coronavirus, and it turns out I had every one of them. But it was early enough where they took a test for me. I tested positive for influenza type B, which still doesn't necessarily mean I didn't have coronavirus.
Yeah, you had COV-18 over here. Fucking.
Yeah. I asked my doctor if I was like, there's no chance I had the coronavirus, right? And his response was, now let's be honest, it was a walk-in clinic. But his response was, did you just come back from China? No, you don't have it. Like,
which is one of the great medical answers. Looking back, one of the great medical answers in the history of the world. What, did you go to China? Like, because that was such just the attitude that people had right before. Like, it became such a big deal so quick. But
100%. 100%. So who's to say if I had it or not?
Yeah.
Or if I didn't,
but then also, like we said, just for some more circumstantial evidence thrown in there, Devin literally rides the same, like confirmed Agent Zero, what they're calling in New York City, is some dude that lives like on Devin's train line. Where he said, and
for sure, exactly,
and like that whole he like just moved. You literally just moved as you were living up in the north anyway, but you had just kind of moved into that area where like just very close to that mile-long lockdown area. So you're on like that same train where everything totally went crazy like a week or so later. All right. As well, can I bring up some circumstantial evidence about a friend of yours hanging out in Chinatown and then potentially to squell racism and then immediately hanging out with you and you getting sick days after?
Yeah, I won't name names, but someone very close to me was hanging out in Chinatown almost to make a point of being like, look.
No, there's a big movement going on.
Yeah, and then I hung out with this person. And the next day, she let me know that she was very sick. She had a fever and body fluids and short of breath.
Yeah, so I mean, in all honesty, we're like making light of it now because literally this is like you were like cured and healthy just in time for this to hit New York City, which is the craziest part. But like, you know, I remember hanging out with you days before this went on, where there was like literally just days before speculation of like, do you think there'll be games with no fans? Like. You know, and then, like I went to that concert on the Tuesday. All right, the brothers MSG kicked ass. People still passing joints. All right. I guess took a hit because I'm not a fag, but people still in a world where we're still passing joints to strangers on a Tuesday. Okay, bring us to the Wednesday where they literally have like a sold out stadium in Sacramento or Utah or whatever for the basketball game, about to tip off, full crowd, and then the doctor like sprints on the court waving his arms and cancels basketball, and called off the game. Like, ever since then, it's just been, and that just had, like, such a movie feel to it when the guy literally running out and, like, stop the game! Fucking Gordon...
There was the one game up here, too. It was a college basketball game. This is kind of more your field, but it was in MSG.
In MSG,
they made the decision to do it without fans, and then, during halftime, they're like, you know what? Fuck it.
At halftime, they closed it out, and that was the Thursday. It was the morning after the Wednesday that I'm just referring to, where they found out that Gortat had it from Utah, who is also the best guy that, of course, we've all seen.
Now, this is the guy that was touching all the mics. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
Funniest person in the world.
Trolling the media about coronavirus before being literally the person that started the whole fucking end of civilization as we know it. So that guy's a major.
One of my favorite people ever.
Right behind Trump, that guy's the number one MVP of the whole coronavirus.
Yeah, hands down, easily, dude.
But easily. And then Thursday MSG. I had tickets to a boxing event at the theater at Madison Square Garden that didn't get canceled until like Friday morning when they're like, all right, like seriously, folks, like you must cancel this, people. Like they were gung ho. Top Rank, the company, the boxing promotional company, was like gung ho. They sent out an email to ticket holders that on Friday morning, like, we're doing this, all right? Wear a mask, asshole, because we're boxing. And then, but like at that point, it was literally,
right?
It really felt like a movie though, because it was just like literally just minute by minute, things were just like chunks of information were collapsing upon us, And I guess,
absolutely, man.
I guess now we're at, still obviously really just at the beginning of this whole situation in a lot of ways, but I feel like at least right now in New York City, at least, we've kind of leveled off a little bit to, just from the dramatic, swell of bad news that kept on happening. However, it's one of those situations where there's like a 2-week lag behind on everything. So a lot of places in America are going to be, I feel, probably going to be going through lockdowns or kind of getting to where New York, hopefully not as bad, but, getting into this more and more.
Yeah, and like I said, it's just the new normal. Like, even I believe it was like South Korea started opening stuff up again and then started shutting everything down again because they opened it up and then everyone started hanging out again and everyone started getting sick again. It was like, all right, well, fuck. But the big problem, too, I guess, with living in New York is, like you said, like, we're kind of getting it first because we're such, like, a tight little, like, small island that, even when we get this cleared up and we allow, like, tourism and things to open back up, people in smaller counties and, like, states are going to start traveling again and maybe have the possibility of bringing it back here. You know what I mean? That's to, like, other smaller
No, for states. Sure. I think that's definitely
all fucked again.
Yeah, no. I mean, I feel like you're right that it's going to be a cyclical kind of thing where I feel that when, it won't be smooth sailing once, society dips their toe back into life. There'll be some setbacks or some, rearrangements.
I hate to quote Ron the waiter, but this is gonna last a very long time. The world is changing and it's changing quick.
Yeah, Dr. Ron the waiter, fucking. He really knows his stuff when it comes to the coronavirus. If you need the hard hitting facts, come to. Oh, it's gonna be bad. Oh, I'm telling you, it's gonna be bad.
I know another thing that at least we in New York are doing, which is it's kind of cheesy, but I think pretty awesome. But I was on the phone with my buddy from California the other day, and I had my windows open, and I was like, oh, it must be 7 o'clock because everyone's cheering and clapping and banging pots and pans for all the doctors and nurses during their shift change. And it's one of the things he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're not doing that here. And I was like, oh, man. And like, I know where you are in Manhattan, I know it's crazy there, but even up where I am in Westchester, like all like the houses,
Yes.
people were going outside their houses.
Dude, want to know what's hilarious? I didn't even know that it was for the nurses changing shifts. I just thought we were all bored and started cheering. I literally thought that was like, and I'm literally hanging out the window giving the Ric Flair woo fucking all weekend. But yeah, I had no idea. I'm gonna give it a lot more heart and soul, and it's gonna have a much more special feel coming out of 17K that I know that it's for the nurses out there. But I literally just thought we were doing it just because it was like a thing that I thought everybody wanted to load up the Instagram. But yeah, no, it is a very cool thing, and it is a very, like you said, the kind of thing that is spreading, and it has been going on. I think in other countries have been doing similar kind of things because like you said, there's this huge lag behind where Italy and Spain and all these places were a month ahead of us doing this kind of things, and now in New York are doing things that in a couple weeks will be going on in other places. Or as the word even spreads of it, other people will just pick up, because it is a unifying thing, you know what I mean? And it's just like this whole situation is such a humbling thing that so many people are thrown into the same, relative boat across the whole planet that we're all looking for something to kind of, help bring us together.
Absolutely.
Like the Geeked Up podcast over here.
If it was any other time, too, I'm sure it'd be something that I would be making fun of. But
yeah, total UTI burn coming out of this, I gotta be honest.
But this time, just for myself too, like I have a lot of family that's in, like my cousin is a nurse practitioner, my sister is a nurse, my mom is a nurse.
Oh wow!
So I have a lot of family that's in the heart of it.
Yeah, that's honestly that is great, and honestly, huge respect to anybody on the front lines dealing with all and in the medical field, and all. On behalf of the Geeked Up show, like honestly, thank you for your work and everything, and
for sure, man. Hell, I mean, even big shout out to the liquor store guy right across the street from my place. So.
Yeah, no, honestly, anybody that's showing up to work these days, you know what I mean, definitely stay safe.
And it's funny too.
And
just you and me, obviously, like being stuck inside and not being able to do this. What's funny about all this is, we're all going a little stir crazy in this way. You always wish for time off, and then once you're kind of forced to do it, it's kind of going nuts. But I guarantee when I'm able to go back to work, day one, I'm going to be like, I don't want to go to work.
I know. Yeah, it's definitely going to be like the end of summer feel where I'm not going to have done any of the shit that I planned on for this whole time, I'm going to better myself during this quarantine. I'm going to need to fucking, like, when the world comes back, I'm going to pretend like I have coronavirus to buy another couple weeks of fucking... That's already my plan, so
Ooh, baby, it's time to get geeked up.